Hello my dear friends! Today I will be doing another paint with me video, so be sure to get all your art supplies ready so we can paint together. Now with this painting I wanted to do something more elegant and old-fashioned. I usually save my detailed character pieces for Inktober, so I wanted to step away from the Inktober time scene and draw a more 13th century European dressed oracle. That probably isn't accurate, but hey, it sounds good to me. Alright, all art supplies and links will be within the description below. Now let's start the Q&A. So now for question 1. What are some of your most challenging art feats? So for me, the two most challenging art feats that I had in the past were hands and male anatomy. So I struggled greatly when it came to male anatomy and hands. And at first, in the beginning, I was slightly content with just not being able to draw men and hands, but I realized that if I'm going to take my artistry and my brand to higher levels, that is a hurdle that I'm going to have to overcome. I also hate to be set in my ways, in the sense of not pushing myself to the next level or my limits of my creativity. So I was like, you know what, this is something that you just gotta do. I studied a whole bunch of human anatomy. I've even gotten anatomy books, and I just knuckled down and focused and taught myself how to draw male anatomy and hands. And through all of that hard work, now I know how to do that. So yes, that was one of, and those were the most challenging that I accomplished. Yay! Next question, why do you not have a webtoons yet? Okay, so I get this question a lot when it comes to not only my hentai, I don't even know if you could put hentai in webtoons, but also my up and coming manga that I'm making called Mutual Crush. At first it was going to be a short film, but then I decided rather than it being a short film first, it should be a manga and then I'll make a film out of it. So the reason why I haven't made a webtoons yet is because of the fact that I wanted to read the rights, the terms and conditions, and the privacy policy of webtoons before I get involved with them. Even though webtoons seems to be quite popular, and I've seen a lot of creators and artists, get their comics or their mangas, turned into actual animes and everything like that. From webtoons, I think it's important for us as artists to slow down for a second, despite all the excitement and the potential excitement of seeing our creations become popular and, everything like that. I think it's important for us to also slow down and read these intricate terms and conditions that we sign up for when we use these platforms and these services. It's really important that we do that, because a lot of times companies will put in their terms and conditions that when you do upload your work onto their platform, because of the fact that it's doing so well and it's popular and everything like that, that now because of that, they own it. They own the intellectual property, or rather the rights to your work. And I think it's important for small creators, or just creators in general, to not get all caught up in the hype and just take it slow and read about these things before they invest in these services without reading the contractual agreement that you are agreeing to by using their services. I have an example where there was this company. This isn't related to comics, but it's related to like t-shirts and apparel. I believe the company was called Threadless. It was a company that had it where, artists could upload their artwork and sell their illustrations on their platform, and you didn't have to pay an initial fee up front. You just had to, you paid when you got paid, they got paid. So that's how the system worked. And long story short, in their terms and conditions, when I was thinking about signing up to them, it said in their privacy policy that when your artwork or your apparel design that you created did well on their platform, they hence owned it and all copies of it. So basically, with you uploading your artwork on their platform and then it does really well, even with you gaining all of that success and notoriety from that illustration, you no longer own it and they own it. And essentially that's stealing. But because of the fact that you agreed to that contractual agreement, you're hence bound to it. And a lot of artists were on there with really popular designs when I read that in the terms and conditions, and I was just like, have these artists taken the time to read this information? So I think that I have caution when it comes to webtoons and all these other services, and I think a lot of artists should be more cautious when it comes to that, just so that at the end of the day, you know that you took the steps to make sure that your creation was protected and not ended up being stolen and something that you have to lose and just regret losing it. So I think it's better to take the time to learn about these things and read these terms and conditions before investing your most precious asset, which is your creations into them. If you are looking, though, to read my specific hentai, especially since I'm not done with my manga yet, I do have it hosted on my website, which is the censored version, anyway, that can be read for free, which will be in the link below. Question number 3 is, how do you deal with art block? So how I deal with art block is that when I'm trying to draw a specific thing, or if I have an idea in my mind in which was super strong once and I'm trying to get it out and it's like blocked and I can't literally draw anything, I usually just step away from drawing altogether. I go play video games, I start playing maybe a couple of computer games, or sometimes I just go outside or hang out with my friends or family and just step away from it. I feel like a lot of us as artists try to like force it all the time, where I can't draw something right now, but let me just keep drawing and drawing, and I feel like you get deeper into art block by doing that. And I think that the best way to deal with art block is stepping away. You're painting or you're drawing and you can't get what you want to draw out. Sometimes it's just good to just let it go and just step away. Do something else. Organize your room or organize your art area. Clean up your art area. Organize your paints, your brushes. Get a good book and go outside and read in the sun. Enjoy the fresh air. Go hang out with your homies. Anything other than artwork. And I guarantee you, while you're out there reading your book or anything, and all that, you'll get like huge bursts of creativity and inspiration, and then blam, you're not going to be able to stop drawing. So I think that when it comes to art block, the best way to deal with it is to step away from the art project and then return to it later when you feel that you are now been imbued with more creative energy. Continue. Now on to question 4. What is your favorite part of your art making process? So my 2 favorite parts of the art making process is sketching and then painting. I really enjoy taking the time and seeing where my creative energy takes me when it comes to sketching. And then after I finalize and choose the final sketch, the painting process is always very interesting, especially after I've already chosen the color palette in which I'm going to use. You know, even with getting the color palette together, sometimes you're not necessarily sure where the colors are going to be and where they're going to take you. I usually like to leave that part, to be a bit of a mystery. I know a lot of artists usually kind of basically draw out or sketch out how their art is going to basically be pertaining to the color palette and the hair, the eyes, the skin, the mouth, the background, whatever. But a lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of times I feel like, hey, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a mystery, getting the color palette together, see what works best, and then just letting the colors kind of just take you wherever you feel during the moment on where they best should go. And I really enjoy that process a lot, both as well as sketching. So on to question 5. How do you keep your art from being monotonous? So according to my brain computer that I can remember, monotonous means something that is repeated and always basically looking the same. Well, when it comes to me, I like to challenge myself. So when it comes to not allowing my artwork to be monotonous, it comes through the challenges that I like to, experiment with. Different color palettes, different poses, different subjects. Instead of drawing basically the same thing over and over and over again, it's always good to challenge yourself. You're used to drawing pastel colors all the time. Try drawing a darker palette this time. You're used to drawing girls all the time? Try your hand at drawing boys. Try your hand at drawing men. You're used to drawing straight hair all the time? Try drawing thick, curly, kinky, wavy, textured hair. try different things and step out of your comfort zone, and that's how you would stop instantly your artwork from being monotonous. Blam! How do you know when your art is finished? Well, when I'm working on a piece for so long and I've gotten to a point in which when I look at it, I am absolutely satisfied with everything that I've put into the illustration, that's when I know that my art is finished. When I look at all the details of the illustration and all the work that I put into it, the hair, the details, the accents, and everything that go into it, when I look at it and I'm just content with everything that I see, that's when I know that I am done with my artwork. At least that's how it works for me. Next question, has the pandemic made you more creative, or do you still get art block here and there? Well, even though we're all living and going through this nonsense, the whole entire time I've still experienced art block just the same as any other time. You know, I feel like a lot of people have lost creativity because they've given up hope and everything like that. But I think at the end of the day, you should still pursue your dreams. And despite all what's going on, again, if you're having art blocks, step away, go outside, go to the park, pick up an amazing book to read. And soon after that, you should be getting your artist's juices flowing again. And please know that there's like no distinct time. It could be a day, it could be a week until you're able to go back and draw. And I think that there's nothing wrong with taking out that time so that you can get your creative juices flowing again. I feel like a lot of times, because of social media, a lot of us feel like we have to be producing artwork all the time, every single day, and it puts so much pressure on you to create artwork for the sake of engagement of social media rather than creating artwork that's based off of your enjoyment as the artist. So, take a step back. Have a little tiny vacay where you just step away from making artwork in general. And if you do make artwork, make something that you enjoy. Draw things that make you feel good. And I guarantee you that when you come back to the project, you'll have all the juices in the world for it. Next question is, do you ever have anxiety when posting an art piece? So, I'd have to say yes and no. Yes, in the sense of I do want my art piece to be enjoyed by others, but no in the sense where I don't want to get so caught up in everybody's approval of the art piece that it's causing me to have issues with myself if it doesn't do well. I think we get so caught up in wanting likes and people to enjoy our artwork that a lot of artists not only, do everything they can to please their audience, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if you are going to be a creator, we can't forget to invest, or rather stay the way in which caused our audience to originally like us in the first place. And I think there's always just something very special about people who have a spark of individuality that people cannot replicate, that makes them them. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that, where, my post didn't do as well as the last one, I'm not as successful. Like, no. I think that people have to just calm down. And I'm not saying that, you work really hard on your piece and you want everybody to like it, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but don't ever forget that just because that post may have not done as well as the last illustration, it doesn't take away your value as an artist, let alone a person, when it doesn't do that well. And just because of the fact that it may have not done well on the social media platform doesn't mean that it's not a good art piece. There's plenty of artists out there who are extremely skilled and amazing artists, but they just don't have the engagement on social media. But that doesn't take away the fact that they're absolutely phenomenal in their artistic ways. So let's not forget about that. And not allow social media and basically the approval of others in order for our artwork to be seen as good. On to the next question. How do you know when your art is finished? So I know when my art is finished, I guess, when I'm done with the illustration, or rather when I've added a specific amount of detail to my illustration in which that I'm satisfied with. I usually test coloring and everything digitally first for my illustrations to see where I want to go. And sometimes I do change up the colors in the interim of painting, but usually I have already kind of tried to figure out what the color palette will be when I'm painting. Sometimes for Inktober, I have to say, I usually just kind of like, I don't want to say go with the flow, but I pick specific colors for that illustration really quick and kind of see where it takes me. But for this instance, I tested out a couple of colors first digitally, and then I put it together. But when it comes to the colors, that was it. All the other details of the illustration I made while I was painting it. So usually when I feel like the artwork is finished, I've added considerable amount of details that makes me satisfied, where I'm like, shading looks good, certain details of the face look good, hair, clothing, shading, all that. So that's how I go through the process of knowing when my artwork is finished. Next question. What is something you feel insecure about with your art? And on the flip side, what are your strengths in your art? So I'd have to say that when it comes to me feeling insecure about my artwork, I don't want to say that I don't feel insecure. I think that that would be unrealistic, but usually when it comes to issues that I might have with my artwork, I usually try my best to face them so I have more confidence in that area. Like, for the longest time, I had the worst time in drawing hands and males. And I felt like I was insecure about those things. And not being able to create those things made me feel like I wasn't that good of an artist. And because of that, I said, you know what, Mina, you need to stop sitting here being all down in the dumps about the fact that you can't draw hands and guys. What the hell are you doing? You need to get your ass in gear and actually draw these things, because doing is the only way that's going to change that that I cannot draw the males or hands. Drawing them is the only thing that's going to challenge me to change the way that I currently am. So I feel, yes, drawing hands and men, and even currently my current challenge right now, drawing like cyborgs, robots and stuff like that, is a complete challenge. Yes, I'm insecure about those things, but I also feel that it's good to take that insecurity and then turn it around and challenge yourself with those same said insecurities to then turn around and better yourself so you're not held back by them. I mean, at least that's what I do anyway. But yes. And on the flip side, what is my strengths in my artwork? I'd have to say that when it comes to my strengths, I really like drawing women and original types of painting and illustration. I honestly feel like I'm much better at drawing traditional illustrations than digital ones. Because that's how I started as an artist. I was a traditional illustrator first, and then I moved to digital. So I'd have to say, when it comes to my artistic strengths, I'm really good at traditional illustration. I enjoy using watercolors and mediums in that manner. And I think that's one of my strengths, along with anatomy and coloring. I think I'm pretty good at that. Not perfect, still always working to improve myself wherever I see. But yes, I'd have to say with confidence that those are my strengths. Next question is, what is an art goal that you decided to have that you feel like you've achieved? Well, oh my goodness, I'd have to feel like I'm pretty blessed and proud of myself in kicking my own ass and getting at least to the art level of experience that I've always wanted. Like, when I started getting back into the art game in 2015, 16-ish, and I participated in the art challenge Inktober, I had not drawn, well, specifically used watercolors and inks in a very long time. along with doing traditional. So when I started doing it again, it felt very refreshing. But now that I look back and I have literally hit all those goals of, becoming better in anatomy, color schemes, and, just the outlines of illustrations and all of those things. Now that I look back in the past of my old artwork, I'm just like, wow, I've grown so much and I've come so far, and I'm really proud of myself when it comes to that. That's why I always suggest, even in my past videos, to partake in illustrations, like contests, or rather challenges such as Inktober, because I always see Inktober as a way to always just improve myself. And it's not necessarily about posting and, at least to me, getting like a crap ton of likes and everyone just falling in love with your artwork. To me, it's not necessarily about that. Yes, it feels good to know that the illustration that you made is bomb and it looks amazing to all your friends and families and supporters, but I think it's more important to want to invest in making sure that your illustration skills are up there. I know there's now a lot of controversy behind Inktober, but I feel like for a personal challenge for yourself as an artist, I don't see why it shouldn't be taken part in. It doesn't necessarily have to be called Inktober when you are posting it, of course, due to the controversy behind it. But I do feel like if you are an artist who is looking to improve their artwork and improve their illustration skills, I think that that's something to take part in. So I think that's a good idea. Another thing that I feel like I've achieved that I'm very happy is starting my own brand through my artwork. And even though I haven't necessarily hit my supreme goal yet, I have made a lot of feats in that journey, and I'm very proud of myself for making those things. I still feel like I have a little bit to go, but it's always good to sit back and acknowledge where you've come from and look in the past and be like, you know what? I am doing pretty good, or I have made a lot of changes. So you can see that you have made improvements. I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in watching other people grow and be like, wow, look at this artist, like look how far she's come from months or a year. I think sometimes we get so caught up in seeing that it kind of puts us down. I'm not saying that that person is doing something wrong to you, but simply because you're looking at this person's progress and you are kind of equating it to your own. And even though that's not inherently a bad thing, because sometimes if you look at someone else's progress, it can inspire you to want to do better. It can push you and give you the energy. Whoa, look how, badass her watercolor illustrations are. Wow, I really want to hit that level. And it can be an inspiration for you to, want to get up and work on something or work harder at something. But to internalize it and then shame yourself or be like, wow, look how much she's grown. I'm never going to hit that, or there's no way I could get there. That's, I feel like, is the negative aspect of looking at it. And I feel like a lot of artists end up doing that. And hey, sometimes, I'm not even gonna lie, sometimes I'll look at my friend's artwork or my art friends online and be like, holy crap, she's grown so much, or, look at this illustration she did, wow. And then it makes me sit back and be like, will I be able to get to that level? But, it's always good to check yourself and be like, whoa, hey, you're going to get there, but you just have to continue to work at it. And of course, train. Because everybody's progression story is different. And at the end of the day, our stories aren't the same. And we need to sit back and, think about things like that and be like, you know what, we're not the same. We have different stories. And hey, I'm going to get there. I'm going to achieve my goals. As long as you're working towards them, working hard and putting all the effort that you need to get there, I feel like with hard work, you'll get there. So, blam. I think that's the best I can answer that. Next question. How do you deal with rude comments? So, how I deal with rude comments is I usually just either, depending on the comment, I usually just ignore that person and or delete it. And depending on how rude the comment is, again, I'll just ignore that person. Or if the comment is really bad, where it's like racist or something, I will hence in turn block that person so they can never see my content or me again. I think it's literally that simple. Sometimes the comments make me angry, but I just feel like that if you come to a point where you have to make a comment that's rude and nasty to somebody, especially if that person has never done anything to you in any which way or form, I feel like there's something going on with that person, and they really have to handle that, and that's like not your issue. So rather than getting all huffy and puffy and really just really internalizing the comment to the point where it literally just starts making you question yourself and feel bad, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. If somebody says a rude comment that is nasty and disrespectful and stuff like that, I will just either ignore them or delete and block them. Those are the only 3 options that are going. Entertaining somebody with rude comments like that, no. I do my very, very best to stay away from things like that. So that's how I handle rude comments. Ignore, block, delete. Blam. On to the next question. Where did you get the confidence to post and make adult content? Well, just like everything and anything, I feel like once you become comfortable with yourself and knowing exactly what you want to make and what you want to post, you can literally just post anything. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean adult content specifically, even though I feel like that's a little bit more of like a raunchy, racy type posting subject. I feel like you just have to have the confidence in yourself to be like, you know what, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to post and make. And I think really that's it. Just having the confidence in yourself to be able to post your artwork in hentai, period. And or hentai rather. You know, um, for me, I really enjoy vanilla hentai, and for me, making a black love hentai that actually showed like real black characters along with a nice wholesome story behind it, it just really makes me feel good, and I enjoy making and or I did enjoy and still do enjoy making that content since my hentai is not done yet. And all that. So I think at the end of the day, when you have confidence in yourself in whatever you're about to post, whether it's traditional painting or digital painting or color scheme, doing a color scheme you've never done before, I think it's good to get out of your comfort zone and be like, you know what, let me try this, let me try this. And you also have to get out of the headspace of kind of being concerned about what everybody thinks. I know that's a little hard, especially nowadays with social media, especially if you're trying to build your following. It's good to, I guess, be concerned about what your followers might like and all this other stuff. But I think it's still important to stay true to yourself and be like, you know what, I want to post hentai. I like that. I like hentai. I want to post that. Or hey, you know what? Instead of doing digital all the time, I really enjoy doing traditional artwork. I want to post more of that, even though that's not popular on my art page. That's what I want to do. And I think that when it comes to artistry, again, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like we get so caught up in doing what our followers like in order to maintain getting more, that we cast our own desires and wants as individual people and as artists to the side just for the sake of growing our following. And I think that you lose the essence of yourself as an artist that makes you when you do that. And I feel like a lot of artists should stop doing that, because I really enjoy seeing artists try new things and be like, wow, look what she did. That's so cool that she tried that. Awesome. And when we grow ourselves like that, we also inspire others to follow in our footsteps and take chances. What did Miss Frizzle say on Magic School Bus? Take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. So, you should go ahead and do that. And don't be afraid of, oh, I don't like that you're drawing hentai now. Like, do you really think that I didn't get messages? Like, for example, me, when I first released that I was drawing hentai, I got so many messages of people saying, I can't believe you're drawing hentai. This is not what I came to your page for. You could be using your talents for other things. And, they were just going on and on about how I shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, who are they to tell me what I can and cannot do? But, unlike myself, a lot of people will be like, maybe I shouldn't do this because I'm at risk of losing followers and people aren't going to like my artwork anymore. And my thing is those people can, go ahead on with themselves. Because if you like drawing hentai, or if you like drawing, traditional illustrations versus digital ones, and maybe your content flow has been always digital, there's absolutely nothing wrong with stepping out of the box and being like, you know what, this is what I want to do now. I want to draw traditional illustrations, even though my followers, or the the analysis or on Instagram is like not necessarily favoring your traditional pieces, that doesn't mean don't post them. That doesn't mean not make them. That just means, you know what? My followers for the longest time have been following me doing digital, and it's just something, and with me doing traditional now, it's just something that's new. So step out of the box and don't be afraid, because at the end of the day, you have to think about it. Would you rather post it and try and put yourself out there, or would you rather keep it in a box and just always wish that you could post it? Sometimes you have to think about it that way, because at the end of the day, it's all about trying and experiencing things and putting yourself out there to get better, right? So go ahead and post that hentai, or whatever you're working on, your project. When it's complete and it's done and it's finalized in your mind, go ahead and post it, and don't be afraid, and stand by your creations with all your heart. I think that's the best way. Next question. How do you deal with the negative effects of being on social media? So I feel like the negative effects of being on social media, at least for me personally, are trying to maintain being seen. So I guess that would be exposure. And also trying really hard not to get caught up too deeply into social media. A lot of times I feel like as an artist, we are constantly comparing ourselves to each other. And as I said earlier in a question, inherently there's nothing wrong with that, in the sense where sometimes looking at someone else's illustrations can give you the confidence to want to go further with yourself and try harder and enhance, improve. But I feel like a lot of times it's taking a more negative approach, where we start beating ourselves up because of the fact that we aren't like this artist, or we cannot draw like this artist, or we cannot color like this artist. So and hence we beat ourselves up and hence become more negative and actually taking steps away from ourselves. I think that's one of the biggest things of social media, and for me, I try really hard not to get caught up with that. And as a matter of fact, I actually don't browse social media that much. Outside of maybe making a post of my artwork, commenting to my fans and my customers, and and everything like that. Outside of that, I really try to stay away from it. I really don't browse about it that much and everything like that, due to the fact that I really want to be able to focus on the things that I want to do in my projects and not get so drawn in and caught up. And social media was made to draw us in and basically absorb us into it anyway. So to get away from all that and to avoid being sucked in, I just stay away from it. I do other things. I work on art projects. I work on staying organized. I work on plans. I plan trips with my friends and family. you know, I do other things, and when I post, I'll come and check and see if I have comments, see and check how well my post might be doing, and really that's it. I really try not to get drawn in, because I feel like if you allow yourself to get drawn in, then it starts affecting your mental health, and I don't want that. And we, not only just me, but we do not have time for that. So if you don't want to get caught up in social media, I think it's best to do other things. Go in your room and look and see what can be remade or refurbished. Like currently right now, I'm fixing my art studio. So I think that's something good to do. Or maybe even make an art studio area for yourself. Look at artists on YouTube and them making art studios, so you can be inspired, or look up DIY projects, or learn a new skill like cooking, or maybe try to cook one of your favorite dishes. I think there's other things that we can do rather than constantly scrolling and looking and looking and looking and looking, and on social media. So those are my suggestions for that. On to the next question. How do you handle it when a post or video does not do as well as the rest? Well, so usually when I come on social media and I'm like, oh wow, my post didn't even get a quarter or a half or whatever amount, as well as this other video or something that I made, I just kind of take it in as people didn't like it as much as I guess the other one. I mean, there's posts that I've made that I thought were absolutely magnificent when I was done with them, and I've worked so hard on them to make them beautiful the way that I deem, and then I post it on social media and then they don't do that well. Me, it doesn't really take away. I mean, I'm like, oh, guess no one really liked it that much, but hey, at the end of the day, I still feel like it's really good. And I also notice that sometimes when there's posts that don't do really well right now, sometimes they do better later. I know that might not make sense, but I've noticed that you might have a post that's doing really not the best, and then maybe a couple of weeks later, it gets shared by some people, and then I guess a lot of people end up liking it. So sometimes I feel like that can happen too. But how I deal with it, I just take it in stride. I just oh, I guess people didn't like it that much or whatever, and work on the next illustration and just keep it pushing. I wouldn't really ever go into a deep sorrow about it or question my abilities as an artist, because I like the illustration how it came out. So if everyone else doesn't really like it, it still doesn't take away from the fact that I worked really hard and everything to make it, and how I enjoyed how it came out. So I think sometimes we have to just take a step back and be not get caught up all in the likes and be oh, if it doesn't have this many likes, it's just not as good. No, I don't think that that's the case. There's plenty of artists on Instagram who I follow that I feel should be getting way more admiration than some who do, because their skills are absolutely phenomenal, but yet their posts only get so much engagement. And I really blame kind of that on the algorithms that were made, because it's no longer about looking at something that's just really nice and really good now, it has to do with, how much you're actually on the platform now. So I don't think that that's right. I don't think that's fair for artists to have to basically pick up a job in, posting all the time, because I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be about quantity. I think it should be about quality. I guess if anyone's understanding what I'm saying, anyway. But yeah, that's how I handle it. I just take it in stride. If it doesn't do that well according to the algorithm, then that doesn't mean that it's not a good illustration. So I just don't take it personally. Now on to the next question. Did doing art ever feel like a burden after reaching a certain level of popularity? I'd have to say no, in the sense where, one, I feel like I haven't necessarily reached my, prime level of supposed popularity, I guess. But when I reached 20K, I didn't feel like it was a burden when it comes to doing artwork, because I love doing artwork. So doing art has never felt like a burden, since I am genuinely happy with making artwork. I hope I was able to answer that correctly. I mean, if you are happy with doing something, it's not gonna be a burden to you. So no, I'd have to say no. I'd have to say the only thing that I have to say, let me say this way, about the increasing of supposed popularity is the increasement of the interaction with people. A lot more shares of your artwork, a lot more commenting, a lot more questions. And, a lot of people are inspired by people's artwork. Whether you're popular or not, you don't necessarily have to be quote unquote popular in order for somebody to be inspired by you or anything like that. So I think when it comes to gaining more of a following, I think those things do come with burdens, but I think when it comes to the burden, specifically talking about myself, I'd have to say the increasement of, I mean, I don't see it as a burden, because a burden to me is something that's in front of you that, you really don't want to deal with, that you have to. So I'd have to say the responsibilities, rather. I think that's a better way of talking about this, is that the responsibilities of acquiring a bigger following would be having to, at least to me, engage with your fan base more, and speaking to more people about things. People are going to be asking you a lot of questions when it comes to artwork, tools, supplies, things like that. And I think that's what just naturally comes with it. So yeah, I think the responsibilities of that are just certain things that just come naturally. And at least that's my take on it. Next question is, how long does it take you to complete an illustration? Well, typically that in itself depends on the illustration type. Usually for digital illustrations, it usually takes me about maybe 2 to 4 hours to complete a digital illustration. But for traditional illustrations, depending on the intricacies of that illustration, it might take me maybe 3 hours to maybe a few days. It depends on how well I have the illustration planned out when it comes to a traditional illustration, because sometimes I like to go gung-ho and not really plan outside of maybe color scheme for the illustration. So it also depends on what I'm doing, along with the size. Usually I have to say within the last couple of years, maybe the last year or so, I've only really been painting on 8x10 watercolor paper. But I'd have to say that back in 2018, I was drawing on watercolor paper that was not only 9x12 but 18x24, which is huge. So in painting on 9x12 to 18x24 requires a lot of time, especially if you're drawing an illustration that has a background. So how long an illustration takes depends on the subject in which I'm drawing, along with how big it is and the medium. On to the next. Do you ever have anxiety when posting an art piece? I'd have to say yes and no. I guess yes in the sense where you might feel a bit anxious on how these people people will view your artwork. But then again, no, because usually once I post my illustration, I start working on other things. So it doesn't occupy my time as much on, posting and just really like delving deep into the posting process and being like, oh my god, I hope this likes it, or counting the likes on it. Like, I'm not saying I've never done that. It's just I usually preoccupy my time after I post artwork by finishing other deadlines and of projects that I've been working on, and everything of that nature. So yes and no to that one. All right, next question. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to start their own brand and or art page? So, if any one of you guys is looking to get advice on how to start your own brand, or how you start an art page, to me is that you just start a page that you dedicate to your artwork. But outside of that, when it comes to a brand, that's less knowledgeable for people at times. So I feel if you're interested in wanting to start your brand in some way or form, I think that you should shoot me an email and I will try my very best get back to you and help you by answering that question. All of my contact information is going to be in the description below, so you can hit me up there. But yes, so if anybody wants any advice when it comes to that, please send me an email, because there is going to be no way I'm going to be able to fit all that in this video. So please send me an email and maybe we can get on Discord and talk, or contact each other via email. Alright. Next question is, are you thinking of doing any conventions when the pandemic is over? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. I have been trying to do conventions even before it all started. And the year that I wanted to do it was when the year the pandemic happened. So, my thing is that when it's all over and said and done, I was gonna participate in doing conventions and travel to be able to see you guys, and you guys can buy some sweet merch, and oh, it's gonna be so much fun. And I've always wanted to do conventions, so I honestly cannot wait, along with doing conventions, to not only see you guys, but also to see some of my favorite artists that I enjoy as well. I think it's really fun, and the idea anyway, since I've never done it, to do that. See some of my favorite artists and everything like that, get some of their merch, and gosh, I cannot wait. I'm so excited to be able to do that, and I cannot wait until the opportunity arises. I also wanted to make a quick note and apologize for the lateness of the video. I was actually supposed to release this in March, but I saw that there was a lot of issues going on with the audio, and I kinda had to do it all over again. So, and with my brand, which has grown so much, it is made it a little difficult for me to be able to do something like that without taking off time to pack orders and stuff like that. But alas, it is here, and I'm so happy I get to show you guys some of my artwork. I'm so sorry. Well, here she is, guys, the lovely Oracle, all said and done and sparkly and all golden up. I love those Micas, gold colors. They're so lovely. I'm gonna try to get some that are in different colors, because all I have is really gold and silver. And the Mijello watercolors, excuse me, are so lovely. I love them. I got a whole bunch of new art supplies, and I'm going to be doing some hauls soon, along with product reviews. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you so much for watching this paint with me and joining me. I look forward to seeing you all next time. Take care.